Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Batafi. Viewers, if you remember yesterday, we discussed at length the possibility of a charter of economy. That has been mentioned, that has been brought up by the opposition, but now it seems that the government is also agreeing to at least to the idea. But that is not all. Yesterday, the Prime Minister was part of a sort of a telethon where he had interaction with the various business leaders of the country as well, and there he spoke at length about the amnesty scheme and how it cannot be extended, the tax amnesty scheme, and after that there will be consequences for anybody who hasn't paid up or shown or declared their assets. That is one aspect that is quite interesting. On the other side, the Prime Minister made a very convincing case about the disclosure of your assets before that time ends. Now, the interesting thing about amnesty schemes in the past is that we have had more than 24, at least around 24 amnesty schemes in the past. The only problem has been that usually the economy of things works in a very simple way, that you have to have carrots and you have to have sticks. We have been offering carrots in the past as well, but it seems when it comes to sticks, the state of Pakistan, the governments of Pakistan, various governments of Pakistan have not been able to show their willingness. This time, the government promises to make it a different situation. We are going to talk about these matters and more. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by two very learned participants. I'm joined by Dr. Zubair Hori. He is a political expert and also comments on policy issues, regular on this show. And if you remember, there was a time he used to host a program here as well. Yes. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
For being part of the program. Next to him is Dr. Aisha Pasha Sahiba, and she actually needs no introduction. Former Finance Minister of Punjab. Now she is an MNA representing Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz. I have to thank you, ma'am, for your participation, and I'm told that we immediately have to go for a break. Let us take a break. When we come back, we are going to resume the discussion immediately.
It's time for Isha prayers in Rawalpindi, Islamabad. People in other parts of the country may offer their prayers according to their local timings.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة
Welcome back. Before going to the break, I introduced the panel in the studio and I introduced the subject matter as well. But while in break, we are joined by Senator Mohsin Aziz Saab, representing the ruling party Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Let me actually welcome him and also start with him. Mohsin Aziz Saab, do tell us what exactly is going to happen once this deadline is over of 30th June. What exactly is going to be the modus operandi of your government? Senator Saab, can you hear me? I can hear my own voice coming back from the mic, but let me go back to the studio. Let me ask Zubair Ghori Saab, what does he make of the government's economic strategy?
Well, they are trying their best to fix the things, and I hope and pray that their effort is successful. But apparently, actions speak louder than words. For the last 10, 11 months, things are not apparently in control, and things are getting out of their hand. But with the interaction of the Prime Minister, with all the business leaders, with the appointment of some of the specialists in some important positions, with the appeal to the Pakistani nation, Prime Minister twice did that. So we can hope that the things can improve, but at the moment they are not looking good.
Okay, and the Prime Minister's decision to actually address the business leaders and also have this interactive session, is it an encouraging sign or
Yes,
it is not?
yes, it's a good thing to reach out to the people and tell them that this is your responsibility. But over the period of history, if you say that, there has been, as you were mentioning in your introduction, there have been more than 24 different types of schemes that have come. So on average, 2 years we have this amnesty scheme. But in the last financial year, we had almost, last financial year, we had almost 2 amnesty schemes. One by the previous government and one announced by this government. And the response up till now is pretty hackneyed, it's pretty slow. The things are not as good as they expected. They were expecting around 300 billion rupees to come in the government's kitty, but as the news is coming from 10 to 12 billion or 20 billion has come up till now, as for the declaration is there.
No, hang on, tell me, how do they actually get these figures?
These are expectations.
How?
Expectation that X number of people will declare X number of targets.
We saw similar pattern during PMLN's time as well. The problem is, are you not acquainted with Pakistani history or are you not acquainted with Pakistan's society?
Don't ask me, they are naive.
No, I'm talking about the entire spectrum of economic policy maker leaders.
Yeah, it is. So even last time around, they were able to, Dr. Sahiba will be able to tell it in more detail, they were able to generate around more than 30 billion rupees. Okay. That was not even a very successful story. And that was the last year of the government, and even the Prime Minister, the ex-Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was already under custody, and his replacement, Shahid Khaqan Abbasi Sahab, was the Prime Minister, and only 1 year was in Miftah Ismail, and the overall the situation in the market as far as the performance of the government was already destabilized, but still they were able to manage a little bit better numbers.
Okay,
but these numbers are not good, they are not encouraging.
Very smartly you have reminded me that there is an expert on the panel and she's a politician. Let me ask Dr. Pasha, ma'am, your take on the amnesty scheme. Why do they fail or why have they failed in the past? And is there a possibility this time it might succeed?
I'll give you a very candid answer. See, you yourself have highlighted that amnesty schemes, we have had a history of them being announced, and the result hasn't been so encouraging. And the fact that one amnesty scheme was announced literally almost just a year back, we were successful to quite an extent, but to announce another one so quickly, I'm not very optimistic. Okay. See, it's not very easy for someone to extend the tax base. No one likes paying taxes. Okay. You have to have systems in place. You have to have real good options, good carrot and stick options. You need to have a tax collecting agency which has the integrity and which people take seriously. There is no trust deficit, and people can say that, okay, Yes, I am willing to declare my assets, and I know that I won't be harassed, and I am not getting myself trapped up.
Are we
into
sure,
this.
ma'am, that this is about trust deficit? Because it seems that no matter what you do, the people who are not going to pay are not going to pay.
See, there are two problems. One, the Pakistan doesn't have a tax culture. This is a problem with us, has been for the last so many years. It's not, you know, of the last government or two, it's been systematically the case. Pakistani people do not like paying taxes. In other countries, I see people keeping receipts in their shoe boxes.
Yeah,
They're so keen on, you know, they know the tax agency will get them and they have to take it seriously. Here, there are two problems. People are not compliant. There is no compliance, partly because the FBR has not treated them with respect, partly because they're not sure what they will be contributing to. There's been lack of transparency and lack of connect between what the taxpayer pays and the benefit the taxpayer
but
gets.
duty is duty, is it not? If
Yeah,
you're supposed to pay taxes no matter what.
Yes, but you know, people know that they can get away with it. And they don't see the benefit of giving it. They are not
the
convinced.
first part seems to be the nub of the gist of the problem. I mean, if I'm not afraid that there are going to be consequences,
That's it.
am I going to do anything? No, I won't. Right?
No, and
so at this moment, why do we lack, or our policies lack teeth to bite?
I think they, again being very candid, see the taxpayer knows that if he gets into the FBR trap, once he's on the records of FBR, there will be periodic interactions.
Yeah.
He will have to please, you know, let's be frank, there is leakages, there is evasion, there is avoidance, there is corruption. We have those systems that we have to just accept and try and modify rather than just, you know, ignore them and deny them and not do anything about
Prime
them.
Minister addressed that bit also, and he assured the people that they will not be harassed by the FBR. And in order to actually hear more about that, let me welcome again Senator Mohsen Aziz from Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. My question is about implementation after the deadline has passed. What is different this time in this amnesty scheme?
You see, first of all, we have to understand that this is an asset declaration scheme. And this was necessitated because of the Benami Act, which was actually introduced in 2017, but was never implemented because of lack of the rules and regulations for the implementation. And the previous government was not very serious about it. On the assumption of charge, this government, this was necessitated because we thought that Benami Act has to be implemented in letter and spirit. And for that, a cleaning mechanism had to be introduced because we know that we do not have a tax culture in this country. And because of lack of tax culture, we only have only 1.4, 1.5 million taxpayers. And out of that, only probably 800,000 or they are taxpayers and rest are only tax filers, but they have zero returns. So for this was necessary. Now coming to your question is that 30th is of course the last date and it cannot be extended because of our international agreements. But however, if the declaration is made before 30th on 30th of June, the payments can be made in installments in next 1 or 2 years even. But they have a little surcharge on it, which has to be paid along with the present tax rates which has been identified, whether it's property or it's cash or it's property or any asset abroad.
So what are the consequences if somebody doesn't declare?
Sorry?
What are the consequences if somebody is not going to declare the assets?
You see, for that you have to go and search the Benami Act, Benami Bill and Benami Act. It is very clear that if serious property is unearthed and it is known to the FBR, they can not only hold that property, they can not only seize that property, but can also put the person who is responsible behind bar, keeping in view, the sort of amount and the value of the property or asset, whatever it may be. So Benami Act is actually a very, very, I would not call it harsh, but I would say it's reality. And we have to believe in that reality that had that act not been implemented and had that not been act was, if it was not passed by the assembly, things would have been different. But after that act, I think we do not have anybody who has an asset beyond means or any asset which has not been declared. Actually, it is the last chance for them to declare it. If they don't, I think it's a doomsday, and it will be very difficult for the survival of that very person, in the near future. And for that, as the Prime Minister said yesterday, and actually he means it, that, and I had also suggested to him that although in our party amnesty or asset declaration scheme, as we have introduced now, was not very much liked by many of the senators or, for that matter, MNAs or ministers. But you see, it was very necessary. It was the need of the hour that it was implemented. Although I think the time limit for the implementation was too short because there was Ramadan and Eid and then this budget. But still, I think people have time, and I think this will be a success because Prime Minister has appealed to the people himself thrice, and people now know that they do not have any other outlet, whether it's local.
Senator Saab, before I let you go, I have only one question regarding the government's priorities. One aspect that is quite interesting. Of course, everybody is going to say that improving the revenue collection is very important in this country. But the second highest expenditure of this government or this country goes to the public sector enterprises. Why is it that we haven't heard anything regarding that matter so far from the government?
No, you see, public sector enterprises is a loss-making enterprises, and in the last many years, they have actually been incurring losses on it. We cannot say anything on it, but work on it has already initiated, has already started, and which means that either we have to improve on the profitability of those enterprises, or we have to actually disinvest it, we have to privatize it, and that is the only course, because other than that, if the organizations do not improve, the country is not in a position to sustain the losses due to these enterprises, whether it's whatever enterprise. I would not like to name them at this moment, but for that...
Of course, there are going to be nuances. There are going to be different organizations, but cutting losses is the most important thing, right, sir?
Yes. Cutting losses down, improving on efficiency, cutting the losses down, or if they cannot and the country cannot sustain it, then it has to be privatized. We have no other option. Either they have to improve on their efficiency, on their profitability, they have to reduce their losses, or they have to be privatized.
Right.
In total or whatever.
Senator Mohsen Aziz Saab, representing Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, thank you very much for your time. Let me come back to the studio. Dr. Saab, I noticed that you had something to say. I have to go to Ghori Saab, but if you want to make a point quickly, please do.
Yes, regarding the public sector enterprises, actually this is an area where policy confusion is prevalent, if I can use that expression. Initially, we were talking about Sarmaya Pakistan, that we'll have this company, we will
Khazana
have...
model, right?
Yes, we will have the holding company, we'll put in money, we'll restructure all these enterprises, and then once we have restructured, everything will be fine, and so on and so forth. Even now in the budget, I see some allocation for Sarmaya Pakistan holding company. But then Why is this rocket science? What is it that needs to be done to restructure them? Why this, and now we are hearing about privatization. They should have a clear cut roadmap of what to do with these public sector enterprises.
Okay.
They are bleeding the economy.
Is there a party or a government in Pakistan's history which has a clear idea what to do about it?
See, this is one of the few things on which we need political consensus, because these are kinds of matters on which you can make political points and, you know, destroy policy action.
Right.
When the party came in, and one of the most important things that was said initially was that let's talk about the charter for the economy, so that we can, you know, really sort out a few of these directions in which we should.
That's a very good point, and I'm afraid we are getting ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
We have to talk about charter of economy, but let me first bring in Dr. Saab. Dr. Saab, you have listened to the comment by the Honorable Senator and Dr. Saiba as well. Your comment regarding amnesty scheme, and then public sector enterprises also.
Morally and principally, I can't agree more, but there are certain ground realities. You see, if you go in the market and if you are using this Benami Act to go against the people, there is already a market panic due to
Go against the people.
Go against the people, of course.
I mean,
the
you are
Benami
saying
Act.
this law is against people, is it?
No, this law is against the Benamis. Okay, if they are holding Benamis. For example, there is a property and there is somebody is holding it somebody else's name, so the government can confiscate it after certain procedures. But what if they are holding cash in their homes? What if they are holding gold? You see
and
the gold
heard
prices.
That their houses are going to be raided.
Yes, there is in the finance bill. They are giving this this power to the commissioner to go and raid houses. I think this is the beginning of major harassment. Major harassment taking place in this.
We are saying that.
I'm going to come back to that point.
For the last 1 year, the market is in panic situation, and people are not giving their money to the market, and they are holding in gold and cash and dollar. That's why the gold prices and the partly are responsible going up for this panic. So if the panic is going to be increased, then the whole activity will be affected.
Which activity?
The market
activity?
No, the market activity, the overall market activity. The people will take the money out of the situations. They will sell off their things maybe, and then keep them cash or maybe hundi or maybe fly them away. The second point is that I want to, you were saying that the Prime Minister is giving them the confidence. So the Prime Minister is giving the confidence that this money will be spent. Right. So what about the FBR system, as Dr. Sabha was pointed out?
He promised they are going to reform it.
Yeah. If in this bill, money bill, it is passed that they are going to be raiding the houses of the people, then you can understand all hell will break loose. The second thing is...
Why? You raid...
This is a panic.
No, but with due respect, if you're a criminal and you're a wanted criminal, your house is raided. So why not here?
It's not the point.
It is about breaking the law.
You and me and the FBR officer has no right to say that you are a criminal until you prove that. You are going to raid the house on certain information.
Yeah.
You have not proved that in the court of law that this person is using his house as a depository of cash or gold or jewelry.
Okay, but if hiding money is a crime, and if you get a warrant and you raid a person's home,
put it this way,
like other way around, why can't you do it?
Okay, put it this way: you are raiding a house, 10 out of 4 houses or your information are wrong.
How do you know that?
I'm saying that can be fault, that can be mistake.
I mean, it can be 100% correct, 100% wrong.
But so this policy decision will be horrendous implications.
Why?
Why the people will be harassed? Innocent people. For example, you are named in that. I give this information that Mr. Farooq Patafi has been holding this much
I'll offer
gold.
a cup of tea. I mean, I don't mind.
And open up the closets.
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
I don't have anything to hide.
Yeah, you don't have, but there are many people who have something else to hide. The second point is then they're saying that this is going to be spent on the people. It is related to the improvement.
What are you hiding, Dr. Saab?
I'm not hiding anything.
You said there are people who hide something else.
No, I'm not hiding. I'm a taxpayer and I'm already in the list and I bear the brunt. I'm one of the highest taxpayers in the country for the last 2 years.
Okay. More than Jahangir Tareen sir?
No, one of the highest. As far as the salaried class is concerned. So as far as the improving governance is concerned, this is what is also matters. People see that if I am going to pay the taxes, how far the governance has improved. Has this government delivered on their promises for improvement of the governance? And this leakage of money through these public sector organizations, where they are unable to decide what to do with them, just with the Sarmaya company that they have just established and nothing has happened after that, is not going to give you results. The last thing, the people ask us that Prime Minister is also saying, everybody is saying that people are not paying taxes. Well, come on, we must discriminate between direct and indirect taxes.
Okay.
People are paying tax, indirect tax on almost everything.
Right.
Now the people are saying that if you are breathing, you must pay for the tax.
Okay.
Right. So direct taxes is a big concern. The common man, the salaried class, the buyer who goes to the market, who gets anything, buys a car, buys a property, gets into anything, even buying for the cinema tickets, they are paying taxes. Their GST is already available there.
Should they be doing that? The problem is, if you're not going to volunteer to pay your income tax, other people who perhaps don't deserve to pay the sales tax are also going to pay.
I'm also saying that this should be working in tandem with each other. There should be a reform process in the FBR.
Why do I feel that every time there is one economist who is actually in charge of the economy and making policy, the rest of intelligentsia just actually come together against that person's point of view.
No.
And then, if you remember, during Ishaq Dar's time, there were economists who were writing letter to IMF that our books might not be right.
No. Let me just say that, but put it this way: we are not living in a normative world. This is a real practical world which has its own complexities and implications. For example, if you have already introduced FBR reforms, you are already completing 1 year into your government, the people must say that this government has shown some resolve and the people are not going to be harassed. And that runs in parallel with the governance improvement. For example, the hospital systems or education systems are.
Leave the governance bit aside for a second. You're talking about FBR, you're talking about reforming how people are taxed. We only have to wait for 3 or 4 days, right? 4 or 5 days. And then we start seeing result. Is it too much big an ask?
No, we are not saying that. We are not saying that it's not a big ask. I'm just saying that if this is what this government has already introduced, this would have given more confidence to the people.
Okay.
Like, this is the umpteenth time that we are getting this amnesty scheme. The people are saying, okay, these days will also pass, we will wait for another one. For example, you have an asset and you pay around 20 to 25% on that if you are a salaried person.
Yeah.
And after a year, if you hide that, you will have to pay only 4%.
Okay.
So are you not a goof?
Okay. No, thank you very much for actually hypothetically making me a goof, but let me go to ma'am.
I just gave you an example.
And ma'am, regarding this aspect, you earlier said that we don't have, you agreed to the idea that perhaps our amnesty schemes don't have teeth or the stick. On the other side, you also objected to the idea of raiding people's homes.
Yes.
The question is where to actually stop. There has to be a balance. And I don't see if a person is willfully, intentionally breaking the law, magically they are going to start actually obeying the law. What happens now?
See, I have no case for people who are tax evaders.
Yeah.
We need to bring them in the tax net. There are no two things about it, because the already tax sector is so overburdened, that the economy is now, is moving so slowly that it's almost stagnant. A 2%, 2.5% growth rate is no growth rate for an economy.
Yeah.
So we cannot afford to overburden the existing taxpayer. We have to broaden the tax base and need to tax those who are undertaxed. But how do we go about doing so? 2 or 3 things. Why my concern for and why am I agreeing with him when he says that this particular clause can be misused? And again, being very candid, FBR is known for its practices. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They harass, they take part of the money, and then they don't act on you. The money doesn't go into the exchequer, it actually goes somewhere else inside the pockets.
So it is a bribe, practically a bribe.
Yes, you are opening those avenues. Look at the kind of litigations you're going to open up with this. Look at the kind of harassment you're going to open up with this. The answer to FBR reform is technology.
Okay.
You have to bring the link between the taxpayer and the tax collector. Until and unless the tax collector goes and meets the taxpayer, there will be all kinds of collusions, there will be all kinds of harassments. See what is happening in the refund system. Those few who are getting refunds are getting for a price.
Okay.
And when at one stage we were talking about, this was when Hafiz Sheikh was in power last time, there was a whole series of tax reforms, firstly related to the value added tax. We were talking about automated tax refunds. It never rolled.
Okay.
And I think a big reason for that was FBR. So much was going out of the hand. So these kinds of reforms first have to take place.
Okay.
People should know that coming into the on the records of FBR is no harassment for them. If they pay taxes, they'll be safe.
Right.
People should also know that if they are trying to evade taxes, FBR has the wherewithal to effectively come and take the taxes from them legitimately.
Right.
So,
let me bring in at this point Dr. Abid Qayyum Salari, Executive Director of Sustainable Development Policies, Diriyut. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us during this show. The question is about amnesty scheme and this decision to actually raid houses. If you remember, whenever you participated in this program, we ended up talking about revenue collection, and we agreed that this country lacks, has a lot of carrots for non-taxpayers, but it doesn't have the kind of stick that is needed. What kind of stick now we are talking about, sir?
Yes, thank you very much, Farooq. You see, not even in the developing countries, but even in developed world, no one pays tax willingly. And the reason people they do pay taxes, as they say in United States, that you can escape from angel of death, but you can't escape from taxman. So it doesn't mean that taxman is with a big rod, but it simply means that the efforts that the current government is trying to do, documentation of economy, putting everything on record, and then making it impossible for tax evaders to hide their. So if all the things are there on record, it is not only the requirement for revenue mobilization, it's a major requirement for FATF. So if you look at 10 points action plan that FATF was, so their crux is that due to economy, due to this cash-based economy, it's quite easy to launder money in Pakistan. It's quite easy to finance terrorism in Pakistan, which of course is there. Don't endorse it, but certainly there are loopholes, and the current government is trying to now gradually restrict those loopholes. Now, when we will have tax profiles on NADRA database and on database, where it's travel history, it's property, it's vehicles, it's widow holding taxes, it is other taxes paid. So everything is there on the database. So then it will become
right. Dr. Saab is breaking up. Dr. Saab, thank you very much for your participation. Let me come back to the studio. This idea of automation, it is also quite interesting. While we are talking about respecting people's privacy, here too the privacy is of prime import, and it seems that you are going to compromise that data.
Yeah, actually this announcement of 53 million people's data being put on the website, properties, travels, with NADRA of course, is again something that we need to be very careful about. See, some of it is privileged information. From this data directly, how can you assess whether the person is paying is a tax evader or not? He has been avoiding taxes or evading taxes. You need to have a system in which you bring together all this information and develop profiles for taxpayers. And then also with proper wherewithal, then go ahead and make the proceeds. I don't think the FBR is ready for it yet.
Yeah,
I have
FBR
to
might
tell you
not
this.
be, but my question is, and I'm talking to one of the most learned people in politics, especially with an emphasis on economy. My question is, when I'm talking to you, when I'm talking to Dr. Abid Qayyum Sileri, why do I feel that we are starting from a scratch? These ideas have been there for quite some time, 20 years. I mean, during Pervez Musharraf's time, everybody
Yes.
used to talk about automation. But it seems that the critical debates that we were supposed to have before implementation,
Yes.
they haven't taken place.
They haven't taken place. I think there are two problems. One, very blatantly, lack of political will.
Okay.
That is the critical thing. The leadership has to be very clear that yes, they have to push, irrespective of whose tail they are stepping on. This has to be very clear. Second,
You can
capacity.
expect that from the current Prime Minister, by the way.
That I hope he demonstrates that.
That wouldn't have been the case during your government's time, because the Prime Minister would show some flexibility. This time, this PM is not willing to show any flexibility.
I hope for the country's sake, we need evidence.
Yeah.
We don't have it yet, but we need evidence so that we know, because some of the developments that we see, we do that raises questions in our minds whether he is so impartial or not. Like for example, the whole sugar thing. Why was there no?
Now he is taking action.
Well, there was a
this year
medicine thing. There was a 400% increase in medicine. There was no inquiry. There was no action.
But
Some
Prime
people
Minister ordered
benefited.
action. This is the problem. If the Prime Minister every time has to take action,
He
that
has to-
means the entire system is failing.
System
him.
has to take action, and all that the political will has to ensure is to let the systems and institutions work, and do not stop their working, hinder the problem. The system should have worked, and all these things should have, the system should have resolved them. So
course.
political will is very important, because you do not let institutions function independently if there is no political will. One. Second, the institution has to have that capacity, that knowledge, their wherewithal that is needed. Those systems, are those systems in place? Do they have that kind of quality human resource? Do they have that kind of thinking, that forward-looking, professional thinking that is needed for us to move forward and develop the profiles, and then gather the information and be very clear on. So all that, I'm not clear. I'm not saying that we don't have it, but it's that no one knows about it. It's sitting somewhere in MPR, and they have not convinced the rest of Pakistan that they have the wherewithal. If they had convinced, our response to this, the amnesty scheme would have been different.
Okay. Dr. Saab, your take, sir?
So, I more or less agree with Dr. Saiba that we have to bring about the changes in the whole FPR system to improve the confidence of the people.
Yeah, but what, I mean...
The automation.
No, hang on. Automation has 90 varieties also,
Yes,
right? You have to actually work out all those details. Who's going to start debating? And we are debating this when 4 days are left.
Yes.
Huh?
So this is the role of the government, that they should have been doing
Which
this.
Not
government?
prepared.
The
Which
sitting government. Which government? The
8
sitting
months.
Government.
I
Why
mean,
not 8 months? Why didn't they start it 6 months ago?
You are going to hold them accountable for the entire national discourse over
I'm not
72
saying
years
this. I'm not saying this.
when they have been in power only for 8 months.
No, I'm not saying this. I'm saying this, that if they have decided to go ahead with this, with so grave implications that we have been talking about, they should have been debating about this at least 6 months ago. 6 months is a long time.
Okay.
So I would repeat that things that the madam has pointed
at
out.
the worst, the conclusion of this last bit that you said would be that they are improvising, right?
Yeah, they might be.
They are making it along as they go.
There might be. There might be.
Okay, it might be that way, but they are new in their job. You and I have been there for quite some time, and you sort of belong to my part of the food chain as well, right? Media and all. Where is our bit in contributing to the debate?
Yeah, there has not
I
been.
haven't seen the columns, the
No.
discussions, the
No.
reporting on
Hardly any.
television.
Hardly any. We must take this responsibility. The academia did not play the role. The media, the intelligentsia, the people did not discourage. Rather, they were encouraging them to evade the taxes.
Okay.
again, it's a chicken and egg story. Which side should start first? It is the chicken or the egg? It is the reform that the people are introducing or the less harassment that the people are facing?
No, the egg has already started. I mean, the new government has already taken
now, the point here is,
responsibility.
you see, if a person, I'm giving you the example again, if a person is evading tax for the last 10 years, and if a person is paying tax for the last 10 years, and now you are asking them to pay only 4%, the person has already paid you 25, 20, 30,
now
30%.
you're challenging the whole idea of humanity.
The design of the amnesty scheme.
Amnesty scheme.
Yeah.
Well,
so what is the guarantee that this government or any coming government may not introduce another one? The people are waiting for that time. Maybe that's why they are not coming up. Do you think there is a dearth of money in Pakistani society?
No.
If they are not taking up this amnesty scheme, there can be only two reasons. A, they do not become the filers under this threat of becoming a tool for harassment, and the second, they may still expect in the heart of their hearts that there can be another amnesty scheme coming. Why should we declare it now?
Right. I don't think that is going to happen because the kind of TORs we have with IMF, the focus that FATF has, that is changing the entire situation.
Mark
but
my
ma'am, I consider them marked, sir. But let me ask ma'am to, in conclusion, talk about Charter of Economy. Because I want to understand what are the nodal points where there is need for agreement. Because I understand various political parties have their own agenda, their own ideology. People's Party consider itself to be a left-leaning party. So it does believe in big government, not small government. How are you going to actually make them agree on various things, please?
See, it's not going to be easy. But look at the state of the economy where we are. We systematically over the last 70 years have lived beyond our means. It's not one government or two governments.
Right.
Systematically over the last 70 years. Our exports are not enough to finance our imports. To put it very simply, our tax remobilization is not enough to finance our expenditures. What is it that we need to do to make Pakistan a stable country? And whenever we get the boosts in the economy, it's always triggered because of some money coming in. Look, see at the past history. The Afghan war brought in money. General Musharraf got the benefit of it, and there was a lot of money coming in. We got high growth rate. In the 60s,
country got the benefit, by the way. Not
yes,
what
I meant was that his government.
Yeah, relief at that time.
Yes, they were in government. Systematically, in the 60s, again this happened. 70s, we didn't have that. In the 80s, with General Ziaul Haq coming in, again there was the Afghan war. Lot of money being pumped in that we reaped benefit of. So until and unless we correct our structural problems, we are not going to, it will always be 3-4 years of good times and then further collapse. 3-4 years of good times,
so
then
there
again
has to
collapse.
be a bare minimum agreement.
Yes.
On certain values.
For the country's sake, because we've been muddling as a country, as an economy far too long. Either we now have to get up, and all the political parties, they need to sit together and see what those minimal bare things are that we need to put Pakistan, keep Pakistan afloat.
Interestingly, since you brought up the two wars in the past, another war is brewing in the region. So what does it tell you about the circumstances? I'm told that we have to conclude the program here. Dr. Aisha Pasha, thank you very much, ma'am, for your time. Dr. Zubair Khori, thank you very much for your time as well. Viewers, we have many questions that still need an answer, but as far as the conviction goes, we have seen the Prime Minister speaking very clearly yesterday. Let us hope this time this scheme really succeeds. With that, I have to conclude the program here. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.